Hi everybody, I'm Fran Spielman, and this is the Fran Spielman Show, brought to you by AARP. And with us is the Supt, Superintendent Eddie Johnson. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is the week that was, wasn't it? I mean, this guy, how much more are we going to have to talk about this?
You know, hopefully, at some point, we all have to recognize we have to turn the page on this thing,
But we can't turn the page while all of this stuff is going on. Mark Garagos, the attorney for Jussie Smollett, literally said the case was dropped because the Chicago Police Department investigation was fatally flawed and it was going to become embarrassing.
Well, first of all, the case wasn't dropped. The deferred prosecution or diversion programs are designed for people that are guilty of low-level crimes. That's what he went through. It's not designed for innocent people. The fact that he forfeited his bond and agreed to community service, that's what guilty people do. Innocent people go to court and present their case in front of a judge or a jury, and then they're proclaimed innocent, not guilty. So all of that is just rhetoric, and that's fine. At the end of the day.
It's not fine with people, though.
Well, you know what? It's for me, as the superintendent of this police department, I have to turn the page and focus on what's really important in this city. We're getting ready to go into the summer months, so I have to focus on violent crime and keeping this city safe.
Right, but you weren't even given a heads up about this dropping of the charges. You're at a police graduation with the mayor, and they're in the secret courtroom before, and reporters had to literally scurry to get there. I mean, what kind of relationship is this with the state's attorney that they couldn't call you and tell you about this?
Well, you know what? Listen, Fran, since I've been superintendent, my relationship with Kim Foxx has been great. But you have to understand, relationships with the police and the state's attorney's office can often be akin to a marriage. We don't always agree on things.
It's a divorce sometimes, isn't it?
Could be, but at the end of the day, all the police officers, the men and women of CPD, and the prosecutors over there at the state's attorney's office, all of us have the same mission, and that is to keep this city safe. So we don't always agree on everything, and that's just part of it. But the fact that we didn't know, no, we didn't find out until we were at the graduation. But at the end of the day, that's a class 4 felony. It's the lowest type of felony that we have. We utilize deferred prosecutions and diversion programs all the time. And again, that's designed for people that are guilty of a crime.
So are you saying then that there was no way he was going to ever be convicted of anything other than a class 4?
No, what I'm saying is this. I stand by that thorough investigation that the detectives did. You heard the prosecutors say the other day, they had no issue with the investigation. They still think he's guilty of a crime. Now, what his team says, that's what they get paid to do. So
what are they just blowing smoke? Because why? Because there's an ongoing FBI investigation of the letter that he sent?
I think they're just saying that because that's what they get paid to do. They get paid to represent him. If they really want to show his innocence, go to court.
Right, but what was the case that you put together? I mean, the mayor has talked about only a sliver of evidence was presented. If that file is ever reopened or opened, what will we find? How much evidence will we see that this was a hoax?
Well, what you'll find is that the facts that we laid out in the bond proffer supports the fact that it was a hoax. Now, if they have something that they have not presented, if they have something that disputes that, then fine, but you present that in court. But I can guarantee you that the investigation that the Chicago Police Department conducted was a thorough one, and the facts bear it out that this was not a hate crime.
And yet, the President of the United States, who is weighed in Jussie Smollett's favor and said, oh, how horrible that this happened in Chicago, is now demanding an investigation of by the FBI and the DOJ into how the charges were dropped. And the mayor said, butt out, stay on the sidelines. What do you think of that? And what could the FBI find if they did investigate this?
Well, again, I can't speak for the FBI. I certainly won't speak for the president. What I can tell you is this. CPD, we did our investigation. We turned over the evidence to the state's attorney. They indicted him and then added an additional 16 counts with a grand jury. That speaks for itself. We did our part. Now it's up to the prosecution to take it forward. we are going to focus on the summer months and the violence in this city to tap it down.
But the moral outrage, I think, is that he didn't apologize to the city of Chicago. And in fact, they're saying you owe him an apology. Are you ready to give him one? I mean, talk about
not.
unmitigated gall. I think that takes the cake, doesn't it?
It's a little amusing to me. But I tell you, Fran, you know, I've been a cop for 30 years. You know, I've seen disappointments in court throughout my career. So it is what it is. And like I said, at some point we have to turn the page and move on.
But how demoralizing has it been to the rank and file cops?
Well, you know what? Cops are resilient people. You know, as I said, we go to court all the time and don't get the outcomes that we're looking for. So we're accustomed to it. You know, so what I can tell you is this. In the days since that's happened, cops have taken 50 illegal weapons off the streets of Chicago. They're still investigating murder cases. They're still investigating shootings. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, we move on. That's what we do. We move on.
When Kim Foxx called you and said, listen, we want you to transfer it over to the FBI, she had gotten a call from Tina Chen, the clout-heavy lawyer who was the chief of staff to Michelle Obama. What did you think when you got that call?
You know, Kim and I talk all the time about different cases. She speaks to victims as well as I do. You know, when I'm in the communities, oftentimes victims of crimes will walk up to me and give me information. So that's nothing unusual. And it's certainly not unusual for the superintendent to talk to the state's attorney. You know, so we did have a conversation about it. I told her I would look at it, and I did. And at the end of the day, you know, we kept it with the Chicago Police Department.
And why did you do that?
Because we were doing an exhaustive investigation. I was confident of the investigation that we were doing. And let me just make this clear too. The FBI was involved in this from the very beginning.
Because of the letter?
Correct.
Yeah.
You know, so we were getting support on both ends, you know, on the end of the alleged hoax and the letter. So, you know, they were already involved in the investigation.
Right, but not every day do you get a call from Tina Chen. And that's why Kim Foxx called you. Did she tell you that Tina Chen
I didn't get a call from Tina Chen, and no, she didn't tell me who
Shouldn't she have told you that?
Not necessarily, you know.
This is a clout person at the highest levels.
Well, that may be true, but again, you know, it's not unusual for me and Kim Foxx to talk about different cases, and we don't always agree, you know. So that doesn't send off any alarm bells in my mind.
But I mean, she really blew it here, didn't she?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to go there. They have prosecutorial discretion in terms of what they do. So, you know, you have to ask them about what they did and why they decided to pursue the avenue.
Well, she didn't even really formally recuse herself.
Again, I'm not going to get in. My job is to be a cop and to try to tap down.
You want to stay out of the politics.
That's exactly right.
And yet, here we are. We're in a mayor's race. Mm-hmm. Your future is up in the air. Mm-hmm.